Hello friends, so in the previous episode we explored Hotwire Native, the refreshed, rebranded approach to create mobile applications with Ruby on Rails and iOS or Android. So previously we had Turbo Native and Strada, now Hotwire Native is Turbo Native and Strada combined. And also in the previous episode we had a look at this Hotwire Native iOS repository. We opened the demo application in Xcode. So here I have the demo application opened in Xcode, and we click the run button to open it in a simulated iPhone 16. And we could navigate this website and interact with it as if it was a mobile application. And now let's try running it not on just the default example URL, but on our own application. So let's first try and running it on SupeRails.com, the production URL. To do this, for the remote, I'm inside this demo file, just going to update the URL from Hotwire Native demo.dev to SupeRails.com. I'm going to rerun the app. And again, this demo is invoked in the scene controller. Here we have root URL equals demo.current. So demo.current. And then root URL is invoked here in the scene controller. We navigate to the root URL. So okay, here we have our own application launched. You see that title is a native element, and it is the same title as I have here in the browser tab title. The logo is a bit squashed. Maybe we don't want to show it, or we want to change the CSS to show it in a better way. This works, so I can type something and search. You see, search works. Okay, now these buttons will not work because I have data turbo false on all of them. So if you have data turbo false, then it will not work. Then scrolling, you see scrolling goes above this area, so it doesn't look very nice. We would want to not make content visible behind this area. And then we have this footer where we have a couple of tabs. This is actually not native footer. It is just the responsive design that I have for opening the browser in a small screen. So these are not native tabs. These are just my HTML tabs. Now, if I go to a URL, you see the navigation gets stacked. So I can click another URL. You see the title gets updated to the title of this page, and the navigation gets stacked, so I can go back. Now, if these were native tabs, usually each tab would be like a separate browser tab. So navigation would be stacked inside this tab. But now these are just HTML tabs, not native ones. So navigation gets stacked when we navigate between these tabs. Okay, so again, these buttons do not work. Let's try running it now not on another remote URL, but on localhost. So to do this, I'm going to run my application on localhost that I have already actually done. So here I have the application running on localhost. I have a Rails server running. Here it is. And I'm going to say current will be not remote URL, but local URL. So we're going to run the local URL, and it's going to be localhost 3000. Okay, let's try running our localhost 3000. And I will expect it to try to make requests. You see, this iPhone, this simulated iPhone, is making requests to our application. Now I'm going to click on lessons, and you see, whenever I click, we get requests made to our local server. So it's kind of working, and it looks more or less the same as it did in production, but this is running localhost. So, okay, let's now see if bridge components would be working. So by default, you have a form component, a menu component, and overflow menu component. Let's try adding potentially a new component. We have in the example here, let's have a look at the example, bridge components, an example of a button component. So we can have a button in our HTML, and it would render a button here in the native header in the top right corner. So let's try adding a bridge button and see if bridge components would work out of the box. Let's try adding this button. We can add it in our layout, for example. Okay, I will refresh the page. Here we have this view profile link, and we need to add a stimulus controller inside the bridge folder. So I'm going to create a folder named bridge inside our JavaScript. Here we have JavaScript controllers inside bridge. I will create a button controller.js. Okay. And we will need to add a Swift component in our iOS application. So I'm going to just copy this. I will go to Xcode, and here in the bridge folder, I'm going to create a new file, file new, empty file, bridge component, button component. Okay, I'm putting in this content of the example button component, and I will also need to say that we are using this button component in our scene controller. Here we have a list of bridge components that we want to use. So I will add button component.self. Now, how can we know that we are using these components from our Rails application? We can actually go to application HTML and display the request user agent. So on the web, if I refresh localhost, I will have this user agent, and on mobile, I will refresh. And here you see I have Hotwire Native iOS, Turbo Native iOS, and a list of bridge components in an array: form, menu, and overflow menu. Now, why don't I have a button? Because I need to restart the iOS application because I've done some changes. So I'm going to replace the application. And now it should also initialize the button component in the request user agent. And here it is. So we have form, menu, overflow menu, and button. Okay, this seems to be working, but we still don't see the button here on top. The thing is, we need to install Bridge inside our Rails application. I don't know whether it gives this error that like we don't have Bridge installed. Let's have a look. Yes, failed to register controller Bridge button. Module name Hotwire Native Bridge does not resolve. So we will need to go back to Hotwire, and there is a library that we need to install. Let's find it. I think it is Hotwire Native Bridge, yes. So this is a JavaScript library that we need to install inside our Rails application. Actually, I think it is documented here. So we need to install the Hotwire Native Bridge JavaScript package. So we need to run this command. Let's run it. It will make sure that we have Stimulus installed, and Hotwire Native Bridge is a new package that we are installing in our input maps. So let's open input map. Now it did not import correctly. I will need to add a new line here. Okay, this should work. Now I will start the server once again. Okay, will I still get a JavaScript error? No JavaScript error this time on the server. Now let me try refreshing our iOS application. Okay, maybe I need to actually restart the iOS application. And now I think the view profile button should be displayed. Or maybe the URL cannot be resolved. Let's see. Yeah, so view profile still does not display here on top. Yeah, maybe because the URL is invalid. So let's try making it slash posts. And here I will write posts. Data breach, and the title would be posts. Okay, let's restart once again. Okay, it is still not rendering here. What can the error be? Now let's have a look again at our HTML. So the error is simply here. So we imported this and we have data controller button, but actually our button is nested inside the bridge folder. So we need to have it data bridge button. And this should reference the correct button controller. Now I'm going to refresh the page. And I think I will see, yes. So I see the post button here, and we see it on all our pages because we have it inside our application layout file. Okay, so we managed to make a native button work on our application on iOS, and we don't want to display this view profile or post link in our web application. So again, going to the docs, there is an example of hiding an element on mobile. So I'm going to try to put this into our application CSS. Let's try this. Okay, it doesn't work. Let's see if it works on localhost. Okay, let's have another look. So in this code that we copied, actually I would just use it like this. We would say data controller bridge button, display none. So now I'm going to refresh my application here. Let's say I will comment out this display none. I have this link to post displayed. Okay. So now I'm not displaying it. And now on mobile, I will restart the application. Okay, and you see I'm not displaying the link to post here anymore. It is hidden as a bridge component, and I only display the link to post in the top right corner. So this works. Okay, let's try some other native behaviors. Let's try changing the path configuration. So here we have some patterns as /new, edit, sign in, start a form, and these are opened in a modal by default. What if we want to try something wild and we want to open playlists in a modal, just playing around? So I can just add the slash playlists, because this URL is slash playlists, and I'm going to open playlists in a modal. Let's see what the behavior is going to look like. So I'm going to restart the application. And now when I click on playlists, you see they are opened in a modal. I have the done, that is kind of a cancel or close button, and I have posts that is present on all the pages in my application. So looks weird, but looks, well, the behavior of opening a modal on playlists works. Okay, let's try adding another Strada component. Here we have the example of form component by default. So let's try adding this form component. Now, where can we get the example code for this form component? Again, I will go to the example code base in Hotwired. Let's search for Hotwired Native Demo. I'm going to find the form controller. Here we have the form controller. I'm going to copy it and paste it into my own application. There is okay, here I have bridge. I will create a form controller .js. I'm going to paste this in, and let's have a look at how the form is being used here. So form in js.erb. Okay, we have this form example. Let's actually paste it somewhere in our application. For example, in playlists/index. Here I'm going to paste in this form. Let's have a look at it in our application. So I go to /playlists. Here I have this form that I have copy pasted, and it is just a simple HTML form. And in the web, it works as a simple form, but in the native application, it should hide this submit button, and instead it should display the submit button in the top right corner. Let's just in case restart the application so that it reinitializes everything, clears the cache. And again, I added this inside our playlists. So I'm going to go to /playlists. And here you see we have this form. We still have the submit button visible. And you see we have the submit button here. So the submit button is overriding the posts button. The form component is currently overriding the button component. And if I press submit, it is actually going to try to submit this form. Well, currently submit just loads the current page. Okay, so we managed to run this form component. It managed to replace whatever we had in the top right corner with the submit button that actually submits this form and disables the submit button during the submission process. Well, I think it's enough for now. So we managed to install bridge in our Rails application. We managed to use a modal. We managed to use the bridge form component and bridge button component. See you in the next one.